when we all parted, I thought we all parted in a free form.
Yeah.
So even though there is a house, there is a, is this my wife? Is this my house? Who was that? The Talking Heads, I think. Wasn't
Yeah.
it? Wasn't it? Yeah, okay. That question is a fatal question, isn't it? When you start to question fundamental reality, then it's, you see that fundamental reality is not fundamental reality, but is a kind of molecular reality that can shift perceptively. But that's very scary. To the form, to the continuity. So I would say that that there are fail-safe situations within the system that will limit your capacity to see beyond a certain point. It's not seen by the body or the brain as a limitation. I feel that there is no way to sneak up on the ego sense. The ego sense is in fact carrying out a mandate of continuity. The first form is in the service to continuity. But perceptively you can see that all form is dissolving at the same time it's continuing. So perceptively you can see that all bodies are dying while they're living. So if in fact from perception you see that it is not opposites like the death as a future event, but death inherent that comes to you as a future event, then you see that there are concurrent existences, that you, the ego sense of you, is the continuity, not you personally. So perceptively, you see that the difference between you and the cancer, it's a very Meshuggah idea, I was told. But that you and your cancer coexist, may in fact have been born with similarities. That it is a false impression that you are somehow separate from their processes. And these processes that carry on in a daily way as you, that there are 1,000 yous also carrying on with you. And that when any of them emerge, they have an equal claim on reality as you do. So, perceiving the dimensions that exist within the form changes the sense of survival to one of more of a creativity, not a mean-spirited survival. It's like having the understanding that Lincoln did, will say that these people were enslaved. They were not slaves. So people who grew up with slavery as normal, including the slaves, went about that you had to overturn slavery through time and space. But perceptively you see that if they were enslaved, the perception that they were enslaved meant you didn't have to overturn slavery for the larger population, but it meant that you were a stranger in a strange land now. If you saw the people were enslaved, you didn't have to overcome having a slave. But if you were born with slaves, and the slave was born with being a slave, you thought that slave and owning a slave was being normal. But a person who saw that they were enslaved did not have to go through a traumatic overcoming. The society did, because they thought slavery was normal, even though they knew in their being it wasn't. So the person who sees that a whole race of people are enslaved doesn't have to overcome a sense of slavery in themselves. Their perception is there. It's as if you walked in on someone and he's got 2 kids hidden in the basement that he's keeping, that he's kidnapped, and he's considering them slaves, but you see them as kids that have been kidnapped and enslaved. But he's relating to them as if it's normal to keep them, to deny their humanity, to deny their possibilities is normal. But from your perspective as a human being, you see that this guy is suffering a delusion of continuity. And we start then from the perspective of sanity, which would be Spinoza, would be a philosopher that would represent simple sanity, where he could see inside the Pope outfit, and inside the rabbi outfit was a human being. Okay. So seeing the human being inside the Pope outfit, he couldn't buy the Pope outfit any longer. In fact, he saw the person was suffering the consequences of being a human being and pretending to be this other person. So he started to see a pathological society based on repression. Yeah. That, I think, was the origins of a Freudian understanding before they utilized his findings to create a norm in the society as treatment. I think that they discovered aspects of the mystery. I'm talking about the need of larger societies and humanity is to continue historically, to continue to evolve. But the individual wakes up. When the individual wakes up, when the individual wakes up to some degree, they're no longer part of the continuum. The only thing is that the initial phase of waking up is reactive. That's why the initial phase, if you use drugs throughout most of your life, and then you kind of have a wake-up call that was drug-oriented, a reaction to the drug or the addictions. Not the drugs, but the addictions. When you wake up in a relationship that you see that your life has been addicted and defined by the addiction. The wake-up in relationship to addiction still carries, there's still carryover. So you see that there are many wake-ups in the society. When you wake up to the manipulation of the society, the initial wake-up is a reaction to the society. Okay. You see, but you also see Buddha's waking up left him helpless. Where he saw that suffering was inherent in the world. It wasn't something that the doing, in fact, contributed to it. So he saw that the helper contributed to the hurt. It was in the helplessness that he discovered another dimension. He discovered that helping was running away from the broken heart by giving you the impression you can do something about it. Okay. So each phase of a kind of enlightenment still has the doer in it. It's not a ball, but it's written into the journey story. When you discover fear of death is the driving characteristics of a normal life of continuity. So I think it's genetically, socially, structurally, psychologically driven to continue. Once the person is declared a Jew, when he's there, the Jew wants to continue. The Catholic wants to continue. The male wants to continue. The Democrat, any acquisition of identity that you take wants to continue. The identity becomes you. You were a Trotskyite when you were 13. Trotsky still continues. 14. Okay, 14. Okay. So continuity is the order of civilization. But when a person discovers that their life is a journey, then fear of death is not you see that death is not your enemy. Death is inherently in the life. Look out the window and you see a life and death experience taking place. In the clouds, in the sky, in the grass, and in the cars, everything is living and dying simultaneously. It is natural, it is inherent. The person who perceives that no longer has fear of death. There's a kind of embrace of the creative. It's not morbid at all. What's morbid was the fear of death. Okay, because you see, then fear drives the society.